We would like to dedicate this episode of the Temp Uncles to Neil, the Professor Peart, one of the greatest drummers to ever exist, and one of the finest lyricists to ever put pen to paper.
Welcome to the Temporary Uncles podcast. We are your temporary uncles for the next however long this podcast goes for. And we are here to talk about things.
And you're Nick.
I am Nick.
And I'm shirtless.
Yes, you are, Ben. Yes, you are. I can see both of your nipples.
So today features both my breasts.
All three of them.
Yeah. Can you say both if you're talking about more than two?
Yeah, both three of your breasts.
Yeah, both three of my tits.
No, he actually had to get one removed, which is why he has this huge concave area in his chest.
That's a good way to explain it.
That's where his third breast was. He
Yeah.
used to be the woman from Total Recall.
Because do you know how difficult it is to find a triple cupped bra? It's impossible, unless it's a novelty one, and they didn't have my size.
Yeah.
I'm Triple H.
You have to call AAA.
No, as in I'm the wrestler. I'm a hairy southern man.
I don't understand wrestling references.
Also, I have 3 tits.
Okay. I don't understand wrestling references.
Well, I don't watch wrestling either, but Triple H is a wrestler.
Okay.
And Triple H would also be like a gargantuan cup size.
Yeah, I realize
And also
that.
I have 3 tits.
Yeah, exactly.
And all 3 of my tits are a man who participates in the worldwide wrestling...
WWW?
The worldwide...
The wide world
web
of wrestling.
Of wrestling entertainment world.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce if you're in. That's how you pronounce it.
That's how you spell WWE isn't actually pronounced WWE. It's called wee. Stop jiggling your tits around.
Like, can they hear it? If I like...
No. They can hear you jiggling, but they can't hear that it is specifically your tits. You got a bit of a chub going on there. A belly, not his dick.
I don't understand people that actually have lint, because like, A, how deep is your canal? And how are you so negligent that there would be stuff in there long enough to form, like...
It can form
crust?
in, like, the span of, like, an hour.
Yeah.
If that. Maybe even, like, half an hour. That could literally just be from the walk that it took me to get to your house.
Yeah, because the way that you walk is that you reveal the lower half of your stomach in the hopes that you catch something in there that you can eat for later.
It just shows up. I wear a shirt almost all the time.
You've got a Venus flynavel.
Yeah, I've got a very deep belly button.
You line the outside of it with honey in the hopes that something will crawl in. You digest it slowly over the course of thousands of years. you have a sarlacc
belly button.
A sarlacc gut.
A sarlacc gut. Well, speaking of Star Wars, did you see the new movie?
Yes, I did. I saw 9.
What did you think of it?
I think that if I watched 8 and 9 back to back, I would be able to give you a better impression, because my initial thought was that I liked it more than 8.
When was the last time you watched 8? Was it in cinemas?
No, because I went and I watched all of them again with Michael, because he hadn't seen any of them. So we watched all of Star Wars together. And I think that...
I'm amazed he managed to get this long in life without having at least seen the original movie, the first one.
Well, I think that he did it out of defiance. Like, he got to sort of, like... adolescence and realized he hadn't seen it, and then because everyone went like, it's the best movie, he just went, well, I'm not watching it now. So
I hate it when that happens.
I think that a big difference is that I went into both of the movies with different expectations.
Yeah.
Because I finished 7 and I thought, you know what, I'm curious, I'm hopeful, I wonder what we'll do next, and then there were a handful of things in 8 that I responded really strongly negatively to. That made me think,
Which is very, very well documented in the history of this podcast.
yeah. But with 9, I think I went into it with more of a, look, fuck it. Whatever they do, I'm just going to watch the movie. I'm going to try and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the mindset I was in, because I think I had too many expectations with The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
While I enjoyed the majority of the movie, of course there are things about that movie that I dislike. But I went into this one, especially considering that the last one didn't really have a cliffhanger. You know, it just kind of... all 3 of them have just kind of ended each movie. And that's, I think, the biggest problem with this trilogy, is that they didn't have an overarching plan from the beginning.
Yeah, they didn't...
Originally, they were all going to be directed by 3 different people, right? It was going to be J.J. Abrams, then Rian Johnson, and then Colin Trevorrow. And then Trevorrow, he just kind of disappeared. He just didn't make it. I don't know why. But I think there was a bit of fan backlash because people didn't really like Jurassic World. And so they're like, this guy's doing the next Star Wars? No, thank you. But maybe it might also have been creative differences, whatever. But then J.J. Abrams took up the realm, and so he basically went and just made a sequel to The Force Awakens. Like, there wasn't really a lot of The Last Jedi in The Force Awakens, apart from certain characters who were introduced and given, like, no screen time, like Rose. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of Rose as a character, but they really did her dirty in the 9th one.
Yeah.
Right? But,
yeah, well, there wasn't a lot... So the only things that they really set up at the end of 8 is that the resistance are getting away. They're running away because they just lost a battle and they've got to set up somewhere different and safe.
Yep.
Kylo Ren is now head of the First Order, and Luke has been disappeared because he exerted himself. So maybe he's dead, maybe he's coming back.
Oh, he is dead because we see his Force ghost in... By the way,
well, we know now.
We're going to have big spoilers for Star Wars. If you haven't seen it already, that's your fault.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was not out of the question that they were going to have him in 9 because Force ghosts exist.
And also,
in the
like,
movies.
yeah, he's also, you know, the actor's alive, so it makes it easier to have him in the new one than it was to get Leia in. Ironic how the only one of the original 3 who survived in the movies is the only one who passed away in real life.
The irony is not lost on anyone.
Yeah, no, it was not even lost on the filmmakers. I had a really uncanny, like, I think they did it well, what they did with Leia, but for me personally, it just kept reminding me of that one episode of South Park where, for Chef, they kept using, like, out-of-context dialogue in order to mishmash sentences together for his final episode, because the actor who played Chef, he left the show because they made fun of Scientology.
Yeah.
Right? And so they made up stuff like that and killed off his character. And then they had, like, a cliffhanger that could possibly bring him back if the actor who played him wanted to come back, but unfortunately he passed away. Yeah. Before they could do that. So Darth Chef is just an end gag and not really a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and I mean, a big part of my expectations about this new one going in was I just wanted them to tastefully end Leia's storyline, and I think they did.
I think they did it very well. Yeah.
I was concerned because I'd heard that what they used for episode 9 were offcuts from 8
and 7.
And so okay, so the things that they hadn't used. The things that didn't make it into one of the most divisive films is going to be used.
Which is also, like, heaps of footage, because these movies, they do heaps of stuff that doesn't make it into the final cut. Like, most big budget movies like this, they'll have, like, a work print version of the movie that's, like, 3.5 hours to, like, 4 hours or something. And that's just, like, all the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, and then, of course, they cut it down to the version we see in theaters. Yeah. That was the plan from the beginning. It's not like, oh, the true director's cut is 4 hours long. That's not correct. That's just all the scenes put together. The work print for Revenge of the Sith was 4 hours long. You know, the rescuing of Palpatine at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
That was going to be like a full hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the work print version.
And it's much better when it's fast-paced and fun. And
yeah, exactly.
20 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Speaking of which, with 9, it it gets going immediately.
Oh
you
yeah,
start
there's absolutely no breathing room in like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
It just gets going, and it gave me whiplash. You know, that's how quick it was. I was like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on? Oh, okay, Palpatine. Whoa, shit.
I like that. Because I was afraid that there was going to be a lot of trying to explain where we were, but
Nah.
JJ is just like, look, fuck it, we're just movie.
To be perfectly honest, that's kind of just what J.J. Abrams does in his movies. Like, have you seen these Star Trek movies? No. They get going pretty quickly as well. There's like a bit of... I think they both open up with like a big action scene and then like that's just how he rolls.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see him end a trilogy, end something that he started though, because he's well known for not doing that.
Okay.
Most of the shows that he's been on, he kind of leaves halfway through. He like directs the first episode. And like most shows would, he becomes a producer and lets other directors do the rest of the series. And he stays on, but then he just kind of leaves midway through the series or something.
Does he just have no faith in his ability to close things up, or does he only ever just write the start of things?
I don't know. I mean, he didn't even finish off his Star Trek trilogy. He made the first two, and then Justin Lin did the third one. All three of which end exactly the same, with like a dramatic speech by Kirk and the Enterprise whipping off into space.
That's really, it's peculiar. It's like when you notice strange shit about the way that certain people or franchises do stuff, and you go, all right, well, can you not do that? Could you possibly deviate?
But the thing is, that's how these three Star Wars movies have ended. They've kind of just ended. It didn't feel like
they stop. They don't end.
They stop. They just kind of, they don't really feel like they're leading on into another movie.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense that the first one didn't really feel like it. The original Star Wars, it didn't feel like they were leading off into another one because they didn't know if the movie was going to be a huge success.
It was a pilot for a series.
Yeah.
Like he wrote the first one and then went, all right, well, if considering that works, I've got an idea of these sequels, and then I also want to have a prequel trilogy.
Yeah, and that worked because they had an idea in mind and they worked on those ideas. But with this new one, it kind of feels like they didn't.
Or it perplexes me from just like a getting it done and being coherent standpoint for why they would want to have three different people do three different movies.
Well, it makes sense as to have them have three different directors, but the fact that those directors would then write the movies as well and not collaborate really that much.
Well, even still, like the director gives kind of the feel of the movie. It
doesn't really make sense from a franchise standpoint, especially when you already have plans to make 3 movies and release them 2 years apart.
Yeah.
It would just make sense if you would, instead of making them 3 separate movies, you would have a plan set and work on all 3 movies from that plan.
Even if you just did like a treatment for the trilogy. Like, look, we want to start here, we want to have these events happen, and then we want to end here.
Yeah.
Other than that, write your own dialogue and make it feel the way you want.
Exactly.
Just start with Ray and end with Ray.
Yeah.
And have a day.
Have a boy.
Don't be gay.
But it just feels weird. But I don't know. I like the movies. They're okay. They're not the best Star Wars movies. They're not the worst Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I mean, they do a thing which is something that I don't like, and I've already told Nick about this, is that when you have powers that are potentially infinite and don't have a lot of rules because they're basically made up magic, when you have ultimate bad fight ultimate good, for me, that takes a lot of the wind out of it, because I'm not thinking about, where's the danger, who could win, because the person that wins is just whoever they write wins. But if you have 2 people and they both have a gun, it's like, alright, well, one of these people could just kill the other guy and that could be it, because
exactly.
They could just kill the good guy because he's vulnerable to bullets.
But that's Star Wars is escapism. It's just fun. They're just fun action movies. They're not supposed to be taken super seriously, and I feel like people forget that and they get really, really angry about things. But they're like, these are just like fun, family-friendly movies about space wizards.
I mean, yeah, a little bit.
They're not exempt from criticism.
No.
But people take these movies way too seriously.
Well, yeah, it's just that when you have, 2 people dressed in pajamas, waving, glow sticks at each other, holding their hands out and straining really hard, and then you say, look, please take this
But,
seriously.
like,
There's got to be an element that makes me go, "Ooh, what's going to happen?"
You can't just like say that they're making up shit when all the other movies do exactly that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, that they all
All of them, like all of them introduce new abilities and stuff. There was no Force lightning before Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
So why is it weird suddenly now that Luke can project himself when it's cool? It works within the movie.
Yeah.
Why do people get angry about it? Especially when it's a thing that was written into the expanded universe 10 years ago.
Well, that's fine. That you
then-
can do things. It's just that when you can invent 1,000 rules, it means that you can kind of write yourself out of whatever predicament you put yourself in. It also means that you can introduce some sort of Deus Ex Machina just because you feel like it, as opposed to where you go, all right,
But
well...
I never felt that anything in these movies felt like... I never felt cheated.
No,
by
I
these
don't
movies.
think they do too many things that are like, oh, great, you've just... well done, thanks, you've just saved yourself there without any critical thought. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's a pet peeve of mine in movies. I don't like... If you can have something that is sort of semi-naturalistic that people get...
Yeah.
It's like, all right, great. Now you can go whatever direction because you can, anyone. Well, we understand the rules here.
Yeah. Not to be a broken record, but I think JoJo's Bizarre Adventure does an excellent job of pulling shit out of its ass, but still having it make sense within the context of the show.
Yeah, well, the expectation for that show, at least what you've given me,
the thing is, like, when a character. Like, so all the stands, they always have their own set rules, right? So even if those rules are fucking weird, they obey those rules. So like Star Platinum, he punches really hard.
Okay.
So his whole thing is, if he can't punch really hard, he will punch even harder. You know, that kind of thing. But then something like Crazy Diamond, his ability is to fix things or restore broken objects.
Yeah.
So if he will find out literally any like new application of that ability, and it becomes extremely it feels really gratifying as a viewer to just see these characters evolve and find new ways of using their abilities that at first seem very one-use kind of abilities, but then you realize, oh, if this guy's cut his hand off to get away from us, right?
Yeah.
So I could touch this guy's hand and make it heal and follow him to get back to his body, and we can use that to track the guy, you know?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting use of the restoring broken objects ability.
I mean, like, the impression that you've given me is that half of the fun of JoJo is just sort of wondering what's the next batshit thing that they're going to throw at you.
Well, see, and that's where it gets really good from Stardust Crusaders onwards, which is the part that introduces stands, because then rather than just becoming about big beefy men beating the shit out of each other, it becomes big beefy men using magic ghosts to beat the shit out of each other, but they become more like intellectual battles rather than just brawly battles. You know, it's one crazy power versus another crazy power, and see who will come on top by utilizing their crazy power in the most unique way, or it just in different ways in order to win, you know? And it's really cool.
Now, as someone who hasn't seen the show, when they bring in a new stand, which I imagine they do, every episode every year,
it's like a stand of the week formula.
do they explain what it is? So they go, oh, that's... that's Hunkudoru, and he does blank.
There are always, like, most stand battles have two parts. There's the part where they're wondering what the fuck this stand is and what it does.
Yeah.
And the second half in trying to learn how to defeat this stand.
Oh, okay, so they have to figure it out.
Yeah. That's a lot of the time they have to figure out what the rules are for themselves. Because a villain's not, more often than not, the villain's not just gonna come out and say, hey, this is my stand and it does this. Fight.
Yeah.
It's more that the bad guy is hunting the good guy and he has the advantage because they don't know what his stand does. And then because he's an anime character, when they figure out what his stand does, he will then explain what his stand does in a lengthy monologue. But that's just part of the course in watching anime.
You have realized that my stand, a momentary lapse of reason, make you forget how to fight.
Yeah.
And I use that to make you forget that your friend is your friend, and that then you fight your friend.
There's a stand in Stone Ocean that causes people to stop remembering things.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember what it's called.
It's called, Because I Got a Higher.
Wait.
Sorry, we had to...
Jailhouse Lock.
Jailhouse Rock.
Lock. Jailhouse Lock, because...
Do they still pronounce...
No, so the original Japanese name is Jailhouse Lock. So, Jailhouse Rock. You know, that's how he's pronounced. And I think they would probably leave it like that in the English version, because it's not Jailhouse Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they would say rock.
Yeah.
Because the Japan, but they can get around the verbatim copying by having it
not all of them are like immediate copies. Like the character Straightso is named after the band Dire Straits.
Yeah,
but
Straitso.
They did call him Straitso instead of like instead of calling him Dire Straits.
Straitso in trying times.
Whammoo instead of Wham.
Whammoo.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
I really enjoy. I want like a Kiwi version of this show where it's just it's all the same, but just you replace all the vowels wrong.
Yeah, I would absolutely love
Ikadika.
I love one of the things I love about the JoJo fandom is people making their own stands and like their own version. Because the thing about JoJo is because it's all set in different locations with different time periods with each story. And it begs for people to come up with their own stories set in like the JoJo universe in a different place in a different time period with stands fighting each other. And there are like so many characters that it's easy for a fan to even write good fan fiction like about another character doing something else, because sometimes we only know these characters during this time period. Every now and then certain characters will show up in another story, like Koichi shows up in both part 4 and part 5, but he's only in part 5 at the very beginning. But or Jotaro, who's in part 3, 4, 5, and 6. I think he's the only character who's in like that many parts. But yeah, it just begs for fans to make their own stuff, which is great. I love it.
This one is set in Latvia, and it's about how Jojo's uncle Bertie is going to steal Jojo's left toe, and in order for him to use his full stand power, he has to be complete, and so we have to go to Riga to find the toe. But they have to fight a stand called Status Quo, and he used the move whatever you want, and the answer is what I want is my toe, and so
he gives him the toe,
and that's it. You stand outside of Jojo's uncle's house and you play the song, and then he gives you the toe, and then he gets his full power, and then he can leave Latvia because he doesn't want to be there.
This is epic. Someone animate Ben's 4-second JoJo story.
It was great.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a stand that's just called Rush.
Rush.
This is my stand at 2112.
This is a fountain of Ramneth.
XYZ.
XYZ.
No, it's YYZ, isn't it?
It is YYZ.
YYZ.
Z. Because they're Canadian and they say that letter correctly.
Yes, they do. So it's 2020 now.
No, it's 1229.
Haha, funny.
That's a low effort joke.
How old would we be if we lived to the year 2112?
Very.
We'd be like... I'd be 114. I'd be 114 in the year 2112.
So let's pretend, just for the ease of math, that I was born in 2000. So that would be 112 years plus 3.
Plus 3, so
because
you'd
I'm
be
born in
100.
97.
So you'd be 115.
15,
yeah. Well, you could have just said that because you're a year older than me. Dingus.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, not even. You're like 6 months older than me, if that.
You're a 98 baby. You were 12 months younger than me.
Well, we are No, I will be 22 in like 2.5 months.
Yeah, because you're in March.
So yeah, so you're currently 22.
I
It's
am.
not like as soon as I turn 22, you become 23.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, this would be epic.
I mean, that would only work if we were born on the same day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how that would work.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd
That
be-
is how that would work.
It'd be if I was.
But it is currently the year 2020. So do you have any New Year's resolutions? Because I don't.
No.
No. I just wanted to like draw more, make music. I guess that's our New Year's resolutions, to make like music together and actually like put it out.
And maybe jerk off less and probably.
I'm gonna jerk off more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, twice a day. When I wake up and when I go to bed.
That's pretty good. Those are rookie numbers.
Those are rookie numbers.
You gotta push that up.
I'm gonna put it 5 times a day. How was your Christmas, Ben?
It was pretty quiet. The only thing that was kind of different about it was that we didn't play backyard cricket because I think people got too pissed.
We did that actually. We never do that, by the way.
We never get pissed.
No. Backyard cricket.
Oh, okay.
We rarely ever play sports as a family, and so it was really interesting that just like on our Boxing Day party, which wasn't actually Boxing Day, it was the Saturday of that week. But
it was January the 13th.
because we couldn't actually do Boxing Day because I was working Boxing Day.
Oh.
And then we couldn't do the Friday because my auntie was working on that Friday. So we just did the Saturday that week. We played front yard cricket because our backyard's not big enough to play cricket. And we lost all the tennis balls that we played with. We just kept playing the game until we lost all the tennis balls.
So it was at your house, right?
Yeah, it was at our house.
Your front yard is significantly smaller than your backyard.
No, as in we played like on the street.
Oh, well, you didn't play front, you played street cricket.
We played front of house cricket. We played on the driveway. And so all the balls either went over the fence across from our house or like the fences like backyards of the houses next to us.
What rules do you guys have?
Throw ball, hit ball, run.
I mean, outside of the basic mechanics of cricket, like, do you have automatic wiki?
I don't know what that means.
So let's say you set the stumps up in front of the garage door.
Yeah.
If you tip it, if you clip the ball and it just hits it hits the door, then that's as if a wicket keeper caught it.
No.
Do you do tippity run?
What's that?
Tippity run is so if you hit it, then you have to run.
No, only if it goes far enough.
Okay, as in like if you felt like it, you would run.
Yeah, pretty much.
As like normal cricket. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do one hand, one bounce?
As in like we bounce it before we throw it, or
No.
I don't know what you're just making up these words. You know, I don't know anything about cricket other than hit ball, run, and make sure you aren't running while they catch the ball.
Right, so the 3 people that listen to this podcast, right, tell Nick that all the things that I've mentioned so far are standard fare for backyard cricket, and you're un-Australian if you don't know it.
This is like the first time I've ever played backyard cricket, so...
Nick, I'm warning you that you'll be deported from this country if you don't improve your understanding of backyard cricket.
I eat Vegemite, I think I'm fine.
Well, that's all right. Michael doesn't eat Vegemite because he's a terrorist.
Yeah.
Or tomatoes.
I don't eat tomatoes.
Well, you're a terrorist.
No, tomatoes aren't Australian.
No, but they
Tomato sauce is Italian.
yeah, but we eat it, so that makes it Australian.
That's like saying that we eat pizza, so it's Australian.
We didn't invent the pie, but the pie is an Australian
We invented
cuisine.
the Parmigiana.
Did we?
Yes. The chicken Parmigiana, which doesn't sound Australian, is Australian.
We invented the dim sim.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
Chinese
sausage
people
roll.
who came here invented the dim.
I'm pretty sure we invented the sausage roll.
Are you sure?
I think so.
I would be concerned about claiming any meat pastry because I imagine that the English or
I
someone
think
else
they
in
made the
Europe.
meat pie in England, but I think we made the sausage roll.
You sure?
I think.
Because they have them there.
I know they have them there, but they have them in fucking Japan. So
The Scots invented chicken tikka masala.
I ate a sausage roll in Japan. So it's not like just because you have them in your country means that you made them. Who invented sausage rolls?
So one hand, one bounce is so if you're fielding.
Oh, they're from France. Okay, never mind then.
There we go. So if you're fielding, right? Normally in cricket, you would have to catch the ball on the full in order to get someone out.
I'm a fool.
On the fucking idiot.
Yeah, like you.
So if it bounce off Nicholas and you catch, you win.
I got a few bruises from playing that probably are still there.
Poor honey, baby.
No, they're not.
Honey boo boo
You want
child.
me to slap you in your where your third tit was?
Yeah, touch it. Oh, it's sensitive.
I don't
It's
like
got
that.
breast tissue. So
Your face has breast tissue.
if you are fielding, if you are no fielding, then right. So normally when to catch someone out, you have to catch on the full. So if it bounces, then you can't catch someone out. But in backyard cricket, there is sometimes a rule, if you're good, that if it bounces one time, if you catch it with one hand, then that's as good as just catching it out in the full.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter like how you catch it, as long as you catch it without it bouncing, then like the person who hit it is out.
Without it bouncing, you can catch it however you want.
Yeah.
However, if it bounces once,
No.
then you catch it with one hand and they're
No.
out. Okay.
It doesn't matter how you catch it, but if you catch it on the full, they're out. If it bounces, it doesn't matter.
Right. So I've surmised that you guys have played the most boring version of backyard cricket.
We have like several people who are under the age of 12
Yep.
playing with us. And then they're playing with like grown men who are 40 throwing the ball at full speed. So
Well, that's their fault. They
Yeah.
need to take into account who they're playing against.
Yeah.
However, if you're 45 and you suck at sport, then maybe the only opportunity to pretend like you're good at sport is to pelt it, 100 k's an hour at a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Watch them flinch and just smack the
Well,
stumps.
no. The small children played the game much better than the ones who were older than them. So the little boys who were, I think, 11, 12, and 13, they went full in having fun and just actually playing the game. Whereas all of us who are older than those guys, we were just kind of there.
You just didn't care. Didn't give a shit.
I mean, we would go for the ball if it was going in our direction.
Yep.
We would try to hit the ball if we were up to bat.
Yep.
But we didn't go full in thinking we were playing a real game of cricket. We were just having fun. But those kids were like full on. They turned on their bogan switch for playing that game today.
Oh yeah, nah, yeah, mate.
Literally, Alex kept going, oh yeah, nah, no, yeah, nah. Just over and over, and it got really annoying until his brother slapped him in the face and told him to stop.
Shut up!
Yeah, pretty much.
You're from Cranbourne, not
He's from Mary Warren. He lives like 5 minutes away from you.
Brand.
Brababran. Okay.
There's a real place, and it's hard.
We could literally walk down to my cousin's place from here right now if we wanted to.
I think I've been there.
Probably.
Do you reckon people have been annoyed by me eating peanut M&Ms?
I have no idea if it's getting picked up. Is it getting picked up?
Well, it's hard to tell because I can hear the sound in my mouth,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I'm hearing that through the mic or if I'm just conducting it through my mandible, into my temporomandibular dip.
Temporary manduncles.
Yeah.
Mandalorian uncles.
No.
Have you seen any of The Mandalorian?
I've watched like the RLM video about it, but I haven't watched any of the show.
I haven't seen any of it either.
I mean,
also, it's Red Letter Media?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Mike Stoklasa and
I know who they are, but
Rich Evans are both pretty critical of most of the Star Wars, but they've said
they're
a
pretty
lot
critical
of good.
They're pretty critical of most things.
Well, they're critics, but they say a lot of.
You're
nice
allowed
things.
to be a critic and not be an asshole.
Yeah, but they're funny. But they like things. They just don't like things that are bad.
I haven't seen a lot of Red Letter Media. Most of my exposure to them has been very CinemaSins-esque, surface level critique, basically. Most of the Red Letter Media that I've seen has been that. I don't watch a lot of film criticism. Now I think about it, I watch a lot of film analysis, but I don't watch a lot of film criticism.
Well, it's because they've got like the best of the worst, where they go and they've got all these really old VHS tapes,
Yeah.
like surviving edged weapons and dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
And they spin it and they watch a couple of them and they talk about them, and some of them are terrific and just an experience, and some of them are just boring.
Yeah. I think the closest to like actual like criticism that I watch is I've seen like a few episodes of of I Hate Everything.
Yeah.
But even in and of itself, I hate the name of that channel. And so just through association with being called I Hate Everything, I try not to watch a lot of it. Because it just seems negative for negativity's sake. Well, I'm sure it's not, but the name in and of itself just is a red flag to me.
Well, it's like a meme character, and
I know it. Well, it seems like it is, but then you watch the videos and it's like genuine criticism,
Yeah, well,
like I Hate Sing. It's like actually a really good video, but like just being called I Hate Everything makes me not want to watch his videos.
Like, because he mostly only addresses things that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
It's not often that he's like, actually, I found this and I really liked it, and so I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes telling you about the good things.
But why aren't people allowed to make videos like that?
Well, they can. That's just not
They
his character.
do, but no one likes watching videos like that. But I don't understand why those kind of videos aren't popular.
I don't know, because it's not
Like,
funny.
I feel like the only times those videos are popular are things like Patrick Willems, where he will talk about why something like The Matrix is one of the greatest movies ever made, And he will make several videos about why.
Yeah.
Or his... I think one of the best video essays on YouTube are one of his, where he talks about the virtue of formalism, which is the opposite of realism.
Oh.
He talks about how realism isn't always necessary, and it doesn't always make your film better.
No.
He talks about why Speed Racer is a masterpiece in that video, which it is. Have you seen Speed Racer?
No.
You need to fix that.
Okay. Because it's like how you go, well, there's, no news like bad news. Is when you hear, like, no one, if you turn on the news and it was, like, an entire 30 minutes of, like,
well,
it's great.
Why can't news space it out more so that you have bad news and good news? But it always is bad news.
Because the thing is, if...
News should just be news.
Well, yeah, it should just be whatever is new.
What the point of news... I feel like a lot of news journalism has become opinionated, even though it's not supposed to be. News is supposed to be objective fact.
Well, yeah.
It's literally supposed to be, this happened for an hour.
Yeah.
That's what news is supposed to be. But a lot of news nowadays has become, this happened and that is bad, or this happened and that is good.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that a lot of what underlies both the potential politicization and also the overwhelming negativity in news is that you only have so much time to deliver the news, and so many things happen. So if you go, right, well, we can fit 10 segments in our news today, right? If you happen to miss that something fucking exploded, or someone, a government was taken over, and you replaced it with something nice and airy, which you probably could have lived without knowing,
there's a
people will be
difference.
upset.
There's a difference between something light and airy, like when the news decides to do something about like a fucking like group of puppies that have saved a kitten from a tree or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you could do something like, like a cure for a well-known illness has happened.
But that's rare.
That's good news. Or something like this place, like this thing bad happened, but through that this good happened, Like these people helped another group of people or whatever,
Oh yeah, if it was like,
or this politician did something good for a change.
Because, so the thing is, with a lot of the good things you might want to report, it's either something that is really, really big and rare, or it's something that is kind of not that necessary and just kind of a fluff piece, so you didn't have every piece being...
Yeah, fluff pieces do
died.
seem unnecessary a lot of the time, but that doesn't mean that everything has to be negative.
No, but, it's about, well, what's important to actually get out
I'm
there.
not just talking about the fact that so much news is bad. If it's just a bad day, that's fine, but I'm just talking about how news doesn't seem to report it as just a thing that happened. News seems to go out of its way to tell you that it's bad, instead of letting you figure out that it's bad on your own.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this building caught on fire and that's bad.
Yeah.
But you can infer that a building catching on fire in and of itself is bad. So they don't need to tell you that it's bad.
Well, yeah,
Stops being objective.
Well, yeah. If anyone died or if something was damaged, I'm sure that it would be convention to introduce the segment as a tragedy happened today. That's a value statement. That is valencing the event. However, I think that people would probably either expect people to introduce it as a tragedy or we express our condolences for.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's polite.
Yeah, that's fine. Expressing condolences for the death of a person is fine.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like a lot of news outlets do go out of their way to add subjectivity to something, to add opinions to news where it's not needed.
Yeah,
especially when it involves politics.
Oh, of course. Well, politics is inherently subjective. It's all about, my team, your team, what you value,
and
conservatism.
I think that's probably my real point. So something like a tragedy, okay, I understand why that would need to be reported as a tragedy, but something like politics specifically, should be reported as objective fact. So yeah, like. You're allowed to just say, oh, this person wants to get rid of the Great Barrier Reef. Done. Leave it at that. Because then people who like the Great Barrier Reef are like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, this person wants to get rid of the Great Barrier Reef and you should be angry about that.
Yeah, well, there's politicization and subjectivism through omission. Because you cannot cover every nuance of the issue. In order, by selecting an event and going, okay, we're going to report on this, you've identified whatever it is as being important and necessary. So if there are some things that you don't think are a big deal because it works for you, then you won't report on it. But if you go, okay, actually, we're a channel or a station that lean the opposite way to these people, and they did a thing, so like we're going to report News. On it and draw it to your attention.
Well, yeah, that's like Fox News, which is like the worst kind of news.
Yeah, so
which is incredibly opinionative news.
Yeah, so you could go, oh well, today Senator Sam Dastyari was reported having lunch with this Chinese donor. You could report that. And that could be fact.
Yeah.
Which it was. However, your decision to either report it or not report it is in itself political, and you're subjectively selected it by saying, oh, well, I think that's important, I'm going to draw it to the attention.
That's probably the biggest drawback of having a news show that is of a certain time. So something like a 24-hour news network, they can probably get away with doing objective fact a lot more than something like 9 News or whatever, because of the fact that they're just reporting things when they happen, and they're constantly reporting things, so they have the time to spend on more things than something like 9 News, where they only have an hour, and so they have to pick and choose what stories they go with.
Well, yeah, I think that's a big maybe, because even if something is 24 hours as in there's always a feed going, I don't think that they only run anything once.
But I'm not even just talking about news shows. I'm talking about news in general. So like my Twitter feed, they have a news section, and more often than not, the news will tell you whether you should be angry or whether you should be sad or what you should think, instead of just saying, hey, this happened today.
Yeah.
And make your own opinion. And so that's another thing that's another reason why I don't watch a lot of criticism of things, is because it feels like they're telling me how to feel about something.
Yeah, well, when you're looking at that,
it's fine when it's comedic, like JonTron. He, more often than not, his videos aren't actually telling you to think of the movie as being bad. It's just him expressing his opinion.
Yeah.
And it's and like, if you think the movie looks bad, you're more often going to agree with him. But more often than not, his show is just being funny.
Yeah,
right?
well...
But something like I Hate Everything immediately tells you what he's going to think before you even watch the video. And I think it's just inherently negative, like most criticism. I see people are too scared to like things nowadays because popular stuff is all about criticizing everything. And I'm not saying things should be exempt from criticism, but I'm just saying that people should be allowed to like things.
Of course, well, no one's saying that you can't, but I think that
I
people...
feel like everyone's saying that you can't when something becomes I know from personal experience how it feels to be someone who likes something that people tell you you're not allowed to like. Batman v Superman is a perfect example of such a thing. Because it has a big fan base, but people will immediately dismiss the fact that it has a big fan base because they thought it was bad. And because popular people thought it was bad, that then becomes the opinion. Regardless of... There are people who, when the movie came out, said it was good.
Yeah.
And then the popular consensus came out that the movie was bad, and they flip-flopped. Because that's popular opinion. You're not allowed to have an opinion anymore. You have to follow what everyone else thinks. And news does the same thing.
Well, I don't think that that's unfounded, but yeah, especially when you have things which are divisive, you will see a flip-flop, you'll see people say, oh, this, but this, but this, and you will have prominent commentators who will express a view, and there will be people who will just spout whatever that is, and there are people that have their own opinion that happen to line up with one camp or another. But like when you have film critics, what you're listening to is an opinion piece.
But the difference
people watch
between...
because they want that person's personality and that person's take.
There is a big difference between something being divisive, so something like The Last Jedi, which is genuinely divisive. It has a big group of people who love the movie and a big group of people who hate the movie.
Yeah.
And then something like Batman v Superman, which is also divisive, but then the people who don't like the movie really want you to think that it's not divisive.
Really?
Oh yeah. The people who hate Batman v Superman will go out of their way to tell you that it is a bad movie. They will cross heaven and earth just to tell you that they don't like this movie. The Batman v Superman haters are some of like the biggest haters ever, and they're not even like the majority. It's almost equal. But the people who like the movie, they just go, yeah, I like the movie, and then they go about their day. Yeah. But the people who hate them will go into unrelated comment sections and just say, oh yeah, Batman v Superman was a bad movie.
Alright, well, I suppose that just speaks to... It's a different kind of division where it's not that you have one side that thinks it's excellent, one side that thinks it's awful, but maybe there's one side who thinks that it's okay, and one side that thinks that it's trash.
There's a side that thinks it's excellent and a side that thinks it's trash, but the side that thinks it's trash is incredibly more vocal than the side that thinks it's excellent, despite them being almost equal.
Well, that's fine. That's valid for people to feel strongly negatively about it.
I'm not negating, like, people are allowed to call a movie bad. I just don't think they should be shoving their opinion down someone else's throat.
No, well, they shouldn't. But if they reacted so strongly, they think that there are really good reasons that make this movie, I don't know, problematic or poor quality or what have you.
Yeah.
And they think that... So if you come up and you go, oh yeah, I thought it was alright, they feel that it is their duty to say, look, well, actually, if you consider these factors, then you may come to realize that it's not alright.
Or the other way around. And it's fine. I'm fine with people doing that. It's the people who go and say, this movie's bad and you're bad for liking this movie, unprompted. And that is a big... And that the same thing happened with The Last Jedi. Groups of people who would just say, this movie's bad, you're not a Star Wars fan if you like The Last Jedi. Or, you're not a Batman or Superman fan if you like Batman v Superman. You know?
Yeah.
Which in and of itself is incorrect, because you like a Star Wars movie. Therefore you are a fan of a Star Wars movie. Therefore you are a fan of Star Wars.
Yeah, of course. Well,
like, I don't know. Opinion is such a touchy subject, and I don't know how we got onto this.
Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has their own view, their own values.
Everyone has an opinion. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion, but when you let that opinion get in the way of objective fact, or if you let that opinion dictate your life, something small like a movie opinion, I mean, not like a political opinion. I that makes complete sense that if it would take over your life.
Possibly, yeah.
But if you let something as small as a movie opinion dictate your online personality, maybe get a hobby. It's in modern times, it's just cooler to be mean. I mean, it's more popular to hate something than it is to like something.
Well, I don't think that it's...
In general, I mean.
Look, in common discourse, people generally like it if there's no conflict. If you and I are together,
I prefer,
and we're not arguing, things are nicer. However, when it comes to entertainment, conflict is important. So if you
Yeah.
watch, you're not going to watch a 20-minute video about why some guy thinks something's cool.
I don't know. I that's why I watch Patrick Willems.
Or you might like it, but it's apparent to people, and maybe why it's so common to see
It's because
negative.
he's not just saying, "Oh, this is cool" for 20 minutes. He's talking about why it's cool.
See, that would be interesting to many people. However, I think that people are more broadly interested in why things are shit, because that can be funny.
But the thing is, a lot of these things don't explain why it's shit.
Yeah,
something like I hate everything. Yeah, he will explain why something is bad.
I think he's a good film critic.
Yeah, he will explain why something is bad.
Yeah.
But something like that, there's plenty of other things where they just say movie bad, and that's their opinion.
Well, that's bad critique.
I've seen a lot of clips of Red Letter Media where they're just calling a movie shit and going on with it, and just moving on to the next subject.
All of their videos are sort of, between 30 minutes and an hour, so there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I've seen a very popular clip of theirs where they talk about Boyhood, but the whole joke is Boyhood is bad, but they don't explain why Boyhood is bad.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't, but I think for the most part, I think that they provide a lot of insight to the things that they watch. When they're not trying to
I don't watch Red Letter
things.
Media, so I wouldn't really know.
I'd recommend it. They're good.
A perfect example of the bad kind of negativity that has become popular is CinemaSins.
Well, yeah, that's kind of just sort of thoughtless,
Well, and it started off as a joke. It started off as a genuine joke and then evolved into quote-unquote genuine criticism. Which isn't actually genuine criticism, because while they themselves may think that they're still doing a joke, to many of their fans, I would say the majority even, they go to CinemaSins for legitimate reasons as to why something is bad.
Alright.
Despite, there's like three kinds of sins. There's like actual joke sins, which more often than not aren't even that funny, in my opinion. Then there's satire sins where like they're jokingly pointing out something that could be considered bad, but like not actually bad, like as kind of as a joke, but not really. Like they're playing a character who will just call out random nitpicks, and so those nitpicks are like the sin. So just random nitpicks that don't really mean anything. And then there's like actual genuine criticism, which more often than not is actually explained in the movie. And they just kind of out of context say this thing is bad, but then within the context of the movie it's explained and is actually not bad.
I mean, it's either potentially bad faith critique or a joke because they know that it's actually explained. And
But the thing is, they don't distinguish between any of their different kinds of sins. And so a joke sin to an audience member could be considered a legitimate sin.
Yeah.
And vice versa. A legitimate sin could be considered a joke sin. But more often than not, I think people watch CinemaSins for quote-unquote genuine film criticism, and what they're getting is not. And what they're getting is bad for film criticism.
Yeah.
Because it's so popular. And their videos started off as like 2 to 3 minutes long. And now they're like half the length of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Which is quantity over quality. For starters, because they make like 2 videos a week.
Yeah.
But also, because of that, they're now struggling to write more jokes and then have to add more criticism, fake criticism, and all that stuff. And then because of the fact that all the jokes and all the criticism are said in the same tone of voice, it becomes hard to distinguish what is actual criticism and what is satire.
Yeah. And I mean, also
quote-unquote satire, because you can't see my hands.
To give IHE, the credit where it's due, he does, when there are things that he likes, he addresses it.
Yeah.
He gives kudos where they're due, but also overwhelmingly negative.
But also, when he makes a joke, it's a lot more obvious.
Yeah.
Because his tone of voice changes, or the music changes, or there is a visual cue to give you that this is a joke and not a genuine criticism.
Yeah, because he's a quality content creator.
Yeah, exactly.
and he
Yeah.
provides good critique and
Yeah.
explains his position.
I probably would watch a lot more of his videos if his channel wasn't called I Hate Everything.
Well, that's just to
But
sort of get your
that's
attention,
just-
because you go,
that's
oh,
just-
you hate everything?
But that's just me personally. I understand why plenty of people would be attracted to a channel called I Hate Everything,
Yeah, well, I mean,
because as I said before,
it gets the message across. He's a little
it's
cartoon
popular
man.
to be negative than it is to be positive.
Well, I imagine that just the people that are overwhelmingly positive don't get the clicks that all the people that sort of shit on things do.
Yeah.
So those who want to have
Which
that's the main
is
content.
the society we live in.
We live in one.
We live in a society where
We live in a society
It's
where I've
more-
got to go to work, so I'm gonna go and
Wait.
get dressed and go to work.
well, what a good start to the year with our podcast. We just have to get into fucking politics almost immediately. So to kind of ease the tension, I'm going to talk about movies for a bit. I'll count off my top 30 movies of the year, I reckon. I've got like a full list on my Letterboxd of like my favorite movies of the or just like all the movies I saw in 2019 ranked. So that's like 50 something movies or whatever. Well, how many is it? 54 movies from 2019. But I'll just count off like my favorite ones, like the ones I really like. So, of course, number 1 is Parasite, which is a really good Korean film. It won like best foreign film at the Golden Globes, and the director came up and he said, once you get past the 1-inch barrier of subtitles, you'll be introduced to so many more amazing films, which is basically the classy way of saying, hey America, learn how to read. Which I completely agree with. So many people immediately dismiss great films because of the fact that it's got subtitles. My dad is one of those people. I had to really try hard to convince him to watch The Raid, which he did end up enjoying, because it had subtitles, and that was like the one reason why he didn't want to watch it. But so many great films, and like it is a testament that my favorite movie of the year is a Korean film, and I have to try hard to convince people I know to watch it because it has subtitles. It's not enough for me to say, oh, this is the best movie that came out last year, in my opinion. But like, I have to really try hard to go, oh, don't dismiss it because it's Korean. Don't dismiss it because it has subtitles. I have to try hard to convince people I know to watch it. But that's a discussion for another day because we're running out of time. So, number 2 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was an excellent film by Quentin Tarantino. Number 3 was Ad Astra, which unfortunately not a lot of people saw, and the people who did see it didn't like it that much because the marketing made it seem like a fucking space action movie, but it wasn't. It was an introspective look into masculinity and like the kind of shit men go through psychologically, but also a space story that is very slow paced. But I love it. It was a great movie. Number 4, Midsommar, best horror movie of the year. Incredibly weird. I love it. I can't wait to see what Ari Aster has next for us. Number 5 is The Irishman, the new film by Martin Scorsese, another masterpiece from the master himself. Number 6, Thunder Road, which I think is... the movie itself, I think, is classified as 2018, but it came out in Australia in 2019, so I'm calling it there. A great indie movie, great feature debut from Jim Cummings. Number 7, Promare, an anime film. Absolutely gorgeous, wonderful animation. I absolutely loved it and had a great time watching it. Number 8, Doctor Sleep. A really, really good follow-up to The Shining that doesn't try too hard to be another Kubrick film. It is first and foremost an adaptation of King's novel, Doctor Sleep, but also it's Mike Flanagan making a Mike Flanagan movie, not Mike Flanagan trying to make a Stanley Kubrick movie, which I think works for its benefit, because instead of trying to be something it's not, it embraces what it actually is and becomes a great film. Number 9, The Nightingale,
which is a great little Australian film about the outback and the terrors that come with being almost on your own there, being quite defenseless out in the outback, but also a film about rage and the lengths at which people to go to get revenge. Number 10, Deerskin, which Ben has also seen. We saw it Myth this year. A wonderfully weird, dark comedy from Mr. Oiseau, the French electronic musician. Fuck. Killer Style. Number 11, The Farewell, which is just a really wholesome movie. Number 12, El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie. Probably not a great movie if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, but I, as a big fan of Breaking Bad, absolutely loved it. It felt like basically a feature-length episode of Breaking Bad, but it was a really nice conclusion to Jesse's character arc that we didn't really get at the end of the original series. And I just thought it was a really good movie too. But I understand why you probably wouldn't like it that much if you don't watch Breaking Bad. Because while still a good movie on its own, the context kind of adds more weight to it. Number 13, John Wick 3. Just a fucking awesome action movie. All of the stunt work, all the choreography is absolutely amazing. And the cinematography is also stunning. And also Keanu Reeves is great. Number 14 is a bit tricky because I watched it on New Year's Day this year, but I'm still classifying it as a 2019 film, and that's Little Women, which is really just a wonderful movie. Great performances all around, and from what I understand, it does something different to the book where instead of just being a big linear story, it goes back and forth between the two timelines, and so it's just really nice. Number 15, Shazam. Just a really fun, wholesome superhero movie. It's just really good. It's just really fun. It does exactly what it needs to be, and it doesn't try too hard to be something it's not. And it's just a really good movie. With great special effects as well.
If you don't finish in the next minute, then I'm
16
gonna leave.
is Joker. 17 is mid-90s. 18 is Us. 19 is Weathering with You. 20 is Ford v Ferrari. And if you need any more information, I will leave the link to my 2019 ranked list in the description below. Thank you for listening to the Temporary Uncles podcast. I hope you all have a great year in 2020. Follow us on Twitter. I'll just let the text-to-speech guy handle this. Bye!
Smoke weed every day.
Happy New Year. Thanks for listening to these two boys talk for an hour. You can follow the social medias at Tempuncles, or email us an epic question at tempuncles@gmail.com. You can find Nick's 2019 ranking list in the description, and the list has changed a bit since this recording as the episode was delayed due to a technical fucky-wucky. Now for a new decade of things. Hopefully the world doesn't burn to nothing before Avatar 5 comes out.